Alright, this is part 2 of my presentation for Module 5 AEP 800. I learned a valid lesson, which is there is a 15-minute time limit on these if you don't have the pro version. So we will be finishing up in a couple slides here. So what impact has the global economy had on my personal use of the internet? Well, I used to live in a very rural place out in the country, Eastland, Missouri, population about 300. The school was K-8, and the students that had a choice to then transfer to one of 3 other high schools after the 8th grade. There was no internet there like there is here where I currently live, which is a more, not, I wouldn't say urban, but suburban place. I live in Raymore, Missouri. They just put in Google Fiber, and so it was very easy for us to get affordable internet here. But at my past house, it was very expensive, and so we did function mostly off of our phones and what we could get done at school. So it's definitely changed what I do. I can shop online. I can order pizza. I can do this master's program, which I wouldn't have been able to do at my past home. So just a location change of half an hour made a big difference. I think the charges of technology are different. It's cheaper to get things like that before. I remember having to pay for minutes on my cell phone, where now I don't have to pay for minutes on my cell phone. I remember having to pay so much money for a gig of data, where now you can get bigger plans that are much more affordable and even unlimited plans. So technology is getting cheaper. But it makes a big difference in what a household can manage. What technology training do you still need to effectively integrate technology in your current position? I used to use CPS clickers, and I used them religiously. I loved them. With classes of 40 or more, it was very easy for me to create a test where I could do a quick assessment, and I immediately had test results. And I used them for years, and all of a sudden one year they stopped working, and I couldn't figure out why. And I was talking with our technology supervisor, and he finally figured out it was because with the new update, the information was no longer supported. And so then I had to go through and rewrite the curriculum again to where I could find an assessment that I could do without having to spend 4 or 5 hours grading every single time I gave an assessment to 300 kids. And so that was an issue. So I'm always finding new ways to keep up with what is being supported, what is not being supported. I now use Google Classroom, Google Forms, and my students are on the one-to-one technology basis, and that makes a huge difference. My 7th graders and my 6th graders are on one-to-one. My 8th graders are the last class that are not on one-to-one, and it's a struggle. What I do with my 7th and my 6th graders is completely different sometimes than what I can do with my 8th grade, because I have to go find a Chromebook cart, or I have to farm out my students to the library in rotations. I make the test 15 minutes long, and I can get so many rotations in each time. And so it makes a big difference. But it would be nice to be able to implement more and do more. I did a unit where we talked about music history, and one of the things that they're supposed to do is they had a slide that they had to find interesting facts, and they could Google, but they had to do it with not Wikipedia, with trusted sites, and they had to find pictures. And I was like, I want you to teach me something new. And it was really interesting. I learned a lot. I was grading their projects, and I was like, okay, how did you do this? Show me how you did this. And that was one of the greatest ways for me to learn, is by having them teach me. And so I learned a lot of new stuff, and so did they. And it actually ended up being a really great unit. I was pretty proud of that one. My school district is very up to date with 21st century technology. We do have a one-to-one ratio with Chromebooks all the way up to the current 7th grade class. We have an entire technology department, an IT department that deals with making sure that the infrastructure is there. We have certain people that's their job is to go through and maintain all the Chromebooks We have loaners. The kids come down, they file a report, they switch out to a loaner. That person comes and they fix it, and then they switch it back out. They've got it fine-tuned now. We also have one person who it's his job to integrate technology into curriculum. And I can go to him and say, hey, I really want to be able to do this, but I don't know how to do it. And he can show me how to do it, and if he doesn't know how to do it, he can find out for me. We also do a lot of professional development, kind of ed camp type things, where people who are vested in Google Classroom or different apps show us how they use it and what could possibly be used. So I feel like my district does a really good job with that, but I would love even more training in the professional development area about it, and just more chance to put it to good use. So there's some advantages with innovative practices in schools. Students are gonna be able to compete with other students coming from technology-rich backgrounds. So if a student in my school wants to go to school in New York, they would have a chance to compete with that person. That, if they came from one of these high technology places, that they would have a better chance competing with that person for a scholarship in college. Also, if they went global, people coming from Asia and people coming from Europe, if they've had better technology instruction than our students, they're going to be competing against our students, and our students might lose out. Students are going to be better for post-secondary education situations that require technology skills. So if this student wants to go into a situation where they need technology skills, they're going to be able to say, oh, I know how to do that, and oh, I know how to do that. And they're just going to be ready for it. The disadvantages, our students are already so immersed in the digital world, and now they're going to be even more attached to a screen. And that frightens me as a mother of 3 boys, to the point to where there are times that we shut down and we go off the grid and everything is shut down, and we go outside and we play in the rain and we play in the mud, and we go to my parents' farm and we build tree houses. They need to have that realistic trend. And my other thing is, I'm not sure that this is going to prepare students for post-secondary experiences that don't include college. Are we keeping that in mind, or are we just funneling them to college? No offense, college professors. I was a college person. I wanted to further my education that way. But what about my student friend who is a diesel tech? Is the education that she's getting preparing her just as much as it did me? And cyberbullying is insane, especially at the middle school level. I would like to think at the high school level that they've grown out of it. They've learned a little bit more about digital citizenship, but I'm not sure. There's a very thin line. I get an email every week about another student who's on restricted technology, where they're not allowed to use their computer because of this, that, or anything. We have many students filing reports about so-and-so who bullied them on Facebook. Who can't do anything, and the parents are mad, and our solution is delete Facebook or delete, your Instagram or whatever. But they don't understand that that's an option. And I think that the term bullying is not, they don't understand what bullying actually is. Bullying is not someone who's just rude. Bullying is repetitive harassment. And a lot of the complaints that come from my middle school kids are very petty. Oh, well, he said he didn't like my shirt. No, that's him just being rude. That's not bullying. And I think that's a big issue. I have also been, harassed online by students who didn't like, my class for some reason or other, where they take my picture and they Photoshop it into other pictures that are inappropriate. And I've had to turn that information over to admin. So it's not just student versus student, it's student versus teachers as well. It's just inappropriate online actions. So that's another issue, mainly with digital citizenship. And these are the resources. Thank you for making it all the way, and we'll see you next module.